And hello once more to the Partisia community, Partisia blockchain community. I am Tiago, and along with Bruce, we have another Spotlight Solution series. This week, we will be discussing a very, very interesting topic regarding interoperability, and one that is core to the Partisia blockchain. Interoperability is, I would say, was started becoming a topic of conversation around 2016. I would say, give or take, obviously you can't pinpoint to an exact date, but when after Ethereum launched and all these use cases for smart contracts started happening and Oracle started popping up and people started figuring out, hey, maybe it's not just one chain that's going to rule over them all. Maybe we should potentially start collaborating between chains and start using the best features from each chain and start creating conditions for people to develop applications that might communicate between chains and empower the user with the best feature sets from each code base. So Partisia has a very, very elegant solution to allow for interoperability. Would you like to preface on that, Bruce?
Yeah, so thanks for that, Tiago. We've talked about privacy for quite some time, and we've had a multiple different sessions between you and I talking about the different use cases of how we use multi-party computation. And the topic of interoperability gets kind of glossed over. But if you take a look at our value propositions, it's in threefold, right? One is privacy, one is interoperability, and the other one is scalability. So interoperability is actually a very significant implementation or architecture on Partisia blockchain. And just really excited to talk to you guys, talk to you, but also to talk to everybody else about this. I will mention that, yeah, you brought up a very interesting point. Since 2016 or so, this has been a fairly hot topic. But I think as a part of our conversation, we'll be able to demonstrate that while it was, or it is, still is, a very hot topic, why it still is a actual problem in the industry, and how Partisia blockchain is looking at this from a very unique angle, a very different angle, and hopefully people will be able to see the value that we present.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be talking about the BYOC, you bring your own coin model that Partisia came up with, which I must confess was something that I mentioned this before when I was doing my own due diligence on Partisia blockchain. I was so confused. I was like, because I'd never seen anything like this before. And obviously, being the first time, you was like, "What? This is unexpected. How does this work? Oh my god!" And then when I started understanding the mechanism, I was like, "Oh my god, this is really interesting. This is really going to potentially drive a lot of adoption." But I'll leave it to you to explain to our community.
Yeah. So I think for today's call, we'll talk about bring your own coin. That's number one. But as a side effect to that, we'll also be talking about MPC as a service. So why don't we jump into the slides? Okay, so we're going to talk about the interoperability portion of our three value propositions. We have the privacy, which we talked quite a bit about. And then we have scalability, which we will delve into in another session. And then we have the interoperability, which we're going to delve into today. And the way I like to kind of begin this topic is with an analogy. And the analogy that I like to use is in the form of like amusement parks. So as an example, if you ever go into Disney World, as an example, right? The first question that they'll ask when you enter Disney World is, "Hey, would you like to buy some Disney dollars?" And the reason why they want you to buy Disney dollars is because every interaction that you have in Disney World or any other amusement park, you need to pay with their own currency. So in that ecosystem, in the Disney World ecosystem, if you want to do, get on a ride, or if you want to purchase something, you always do that using Disney dollars. And Disney dollars are not accepted anywhere else, right? So that currency is not usable anywhere outside of their ecosystem. And this is a very similar kind of a situation that we have in the blockchain industry, whether it's any L1, Cardano, Ethereum, Polygon, Harmony, wherever it is, right? You have to pay for their services in the form of gas in their native currency, right? So that's one issue. And the other issue is that every single ecosystem, whether it's the incumbents like Cardano, like we spoke about, or new ones that are coming up, they're all kind of in competition with each other. And one of the reasons is because of this currency, siloed currency, or the siloed economic model that they have. And all of the L1s are basically saying, hey, we're the fastest, we're the cheapest, we're the largest ecosystem, we are the easiest to develop on, and et cetera, et cetera. And they're basically all saying, hey, come build on us because we're going to be the winner at the end. And so these two issues creates really more like competition, and there's very little room for collaboration, right? If you're in competition with each other. So when you examine these types of platform competitions in history, you can find many different examples. If you're old enough, you'll know, VHS versus Betamax, or the desktop wars. You have Macintosh versus Windows versus, I don't know if anybody remembers, but the IBM OS2s, right? And then in the in the 2000s and the 90s, you had infrastructure wars between Ethernet and Token Ring, and maybe FIDIs in the picture, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward to 2000, and then going on to 2010, you had the search engine wars. You had Yahoo versus Google versus Bing, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have these days you have the streaming wars, Netflix, and they were in battle with Roku and Hulu, and then Disney is coming up, and then HBO Max is coming up. And what you'll find is that in history, you'll see that the platform that wanted to collaborate with others ended up being the winners. So let's take a look at the desktop wars, right, between Macintosh and Windows and IBM OS2. Apple was very interested in having their own, ecosystem, from a hardware perspective as well. They wanted to self-contain everything. They did not want to collaborate with others. Microsoft did it in a different way. They basically said, hey, listen, we're not going to be restricting others from hardware. We're going to make it easy for hardware to actually build their systems and deploy our operating system. We're also going to make it easy for developers to be able to develop and make our ecosystem very easy to jump on top of. You take a look at the other wars like Yahoo versus Google versus Bing. Well, Google became the winner mostly because they actually went into agreements with advertisers and allowed them to gather and use the data that we're collecting in order for us to, and they became a very big powerhouse because of this advertisement model. The same thing with Netflix. Netflix is in collaboration with multiple different production houses. While they develop their own products, but they also collaborate with a lot of different production offices or production companies to onboard their film or their TV shows into their platform. Disney's not like that. HBO Max is not like that. So you can see that in throughout history. Usually, it is always the collaborators and not the competitors that ends up winning the platform battle. So the big question is, Who will win the blockchain wars? You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon, Binance, Cardano, Ripple, et cetera, et cetera. They're all, like we mentioned earlier, they're all kind of in competition with each other. Where will Partisia end up? Partisia blockchain's main value proposition was really in regards to and in our vision, right? Our value, our principle, and our vision was really about collaboration and not competition. And you can see that directly in our architecture. So we went to that analogy of needing to pay for your own ecosystem's tokens, right? Just like Disney dollars if you go to Disney World. Well, it's not like that in Partisia. In fact, in Partisia, you can pay for the services that you want from Partisia using different coins. The gas fees are paid using your preferred currency. Currently, we support Ethereum and Polygon USDC with a whole host of other tokens that will be onboarded so that you're not going to be restricted to purchasing MPC tokens and using that as gas. So what does that mean? It really means like you're able to open up your own ecosystem to a variety of different users. You're not only restricted to enforcing your users to purchase MPC tokens. You can have people who are interested in paying for the services in Ethereum, Polygon, Bitcoin, BNB, Cardano, et cetera, et cetera. The other advantage that this really brings is you're able to actually easily swap between the different currencies. Easy swaps between multiple different currencies. You're able to transfer both the account information as well as data between the chains. And the third value proposition that we bring out is MPC as a service, right? And this basically means is that it allows for any system, whether it's a Web 2 or a Web 3 system, to be able to call Partisia Blockchain to use our privacy services, multi-party computation, as a service. You keep your applications intact in the chain that you prefer and still be able to get your multi-party computation as a service and pay for it using the coins that you're familiar with or that your users are familiar with. So this is really our take on introducing collaboration in the blockchain ecosystem, and shows that we truly do believe in collaboration as our value proposition. So all of this is possible through our Hermes bridge. And it's basically a bridge that allows you to take any asset in a different chain and bridge it across into the Partisia blockchain ecosystem. It is a double entry bookkeeping system, which is protected by our multi-party computation multi-sig oracle key. And all of these stakes and all of these different assets that are being transferred is protected by a collateralized oracle service, which each process is refreshed every epoch, which is very different than the other bridging mechanism that you see in other chains. So this really allows us to be able to bridge multiple different types of assets into our ecosystem, and those different assets can be used as gas to perform whatever types of functionality that you want to use in Partisia blockchain. So things that you could do is like transfer the same token between different accounts, as well as swaps between different chains and different architectures. You have, again, like we mentioned, a very robust dispute process, which is all collateralized by the MPC tokens. And again, all the processes refresh every epoch for these swaps as well. And then we can delve a little bit into the MPC as a service. And so all of those bridging and all of those ability for you to be able to pay for services inside the Partisia blockchain using your own tokens, the tokens that you're really comfortable using, allows other systems to be able to call us and use things like multi-party computation as a service. And so this is an example of how ecosystems in the Ethereum world can still gain multi-party computation without needing to take their entire ecosystem and porting it into Partisia Blockchain. And the way basically it would work is that the developer would create a smart contract in both sides, one smart contract in the Ethereum side, one smart contract in the Partisia Blockchain side. The smart contract in the Ethereum side would have requirements for input validations. It would allow the users of the system to input those inputs as a secret into the Partisia Blockchain smart contract. The Partisia Blockchain does the multi-party computation and then sends the results back over into their apps. So in my mind, this is an incredibly powerful architecture. Imagine being able to utilize a different functionality or a functionality in a different ecosystem, but not needing to port your entire application to another chain. It really changes the paradigm of how the blockchain industry currently is being designed. You know, being able to go in and out of different ecosystems to be able to take advantage and picking and choosing the services that you want from different, blockchains, and then piecing together a solution for yourself. That's the dream, right? That's the dream that you want to get to be able to collaborate and be able to distribute out all the different services and being able to construct a perfect solution for yourself, utilizing the different solutions that are available in the entire ecosystem. And this design, this architecture is a way for you to do that. And so in my mind, this is an incredibly powerful statement.
So let me ask you a question, Bruce. So referring back to the previous episodes that we did, showcasing the use cases for Partisia Blockchain. So we mentioned privacy, we mentioned front running, we mentioned secret surveys, whatever NPC technology can be used for. That means that anyone out there who would like to, for example, let's say a DEX on any given chain that want to offer front-running protection to their users, they would just be able to piggyback on the Partisia blockchain to add on to their service this front-running protection. And the end user would just they would have, insert the amount you want to buy, insert your slippage tolerance. Do you want front-running protection? Yes or no? And if they flip a switch, they would increase the fee, and that would actually pay for the service of front-running protection on the Partisia blockchain. Is that correct? As a simple example.
Yeah. So from a Web3 perspective, yes, that is a great example. And yes, you can certainly, any blockchain that is being supported from a currency perspective that is being supported by Partisia blockchain can do that. So yes, from a Web3 perspective, that's a great example. And then we can also take a look at it from a Web2 perspective, right? So if you look at it from a Web2 perspective, it's a brand new application that now wants to take advantage of a particular L1 blockchain for whatever services it is, right? Now, if that L1 blockchain only supports their own coin, which is what's happening with all the other blockchains, L1s right now, then you're actually forcing your users to purchase their own coins to actually use their services. But what you can do with Partisia blockchain is that you can, as a Web2 implementation, you can build an application using Partisia's functions and features, but then allow anyone with any different types of tokens to utilize your ecosystem, right? And so it opens up a whole new different potential application. So as an example, let's take a look at a gaming application, right? You have a gaming, so a Web2 or even a Web3 gaming, and you want to be able to allow anyone to play the game. Well, if you're built on top of a particular blockchain, then this gaming service will need to do something to force your users to purchase their coins in order for you to interact in their system. Well, that restricts the number of users that you may potentially be able to onboard into your gaming. But what if the users were able to pay for it using whatever they wanted to use, right? Well, that opens up your entire ecosystem to a whole new group of users that you may not have had access to. So this is really, to me, the power of having an architecture that promotes collaboration.
So we are a blockchain, but we are offering a service that is, let's say, blockchain agnostic. It's just that the use case for MPC plus blockchain elevates multi-party computation to an entire new state of existence, so to speak.
Yeah.
That means that for the first time, you will have decentralized, secure multi-party computation that does not rely on a centralized service or provider. So it makes it much more robust, and it caters not only to Web 2, but also to Web 3. In fact, I would say that given the real world needs of multi-party computation, sure, you can build a decentralized eBay, for secret auctions. But I mean, how many auction houses are there in the world already in existence for decades that would appreciate the multi-party computation? Or how many in the gaming industry, how many gaming studios and casinos out there that rely on third-party services to provide a random number generation, scientific research, institutions. These are, legacy, quote unquote, for us, legacy systems, Web 2 systems that for the first time, they will be able to tap into this public infrastructure that is permissionless. You don't need to ask questions. You just need to deploy your smart contracts, and you are absolutely guaranteed that your data is mathematically proven and secured, decentralized, untampered with. So it brings an entirely new level of robustness to your services, to your research, to whatever you are running. So this is very, very exciting.
Yeah, and I think you touched upon the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, right? It's not just about providing privacy services. It's about enabling others, enabling anyone really to be able to take advantage of the power of multi-party computation. And so there is a very, very closely tied relationship between our value proposition of privacy and the value proposition of interoperability. And they really work and need to work in tandem with each other in order for us to achieve that vision.
And compliance, because let's not forget that you're able to program compliance requirements into your services that comply to your regulatory framework.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a win-win-win situation. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Well, thank you very much for that presentation, Bruce. I hope this brings actually, I hope this brings even more questions to our community and people following us, because we do want to answer your questions so that we go deeper down this rabbit hole, because this is really only scratching the surface. This technology is incredible. The use cases just seem to pop up left and right, especially now that it's decentralized on a public blockchain. Again, if you want to know more, get in touch with us, join our channels, get in touch with Bruce, who is Bunga, or myself, Tiago. We would like to support your vision, your ideas. If you have any ideas on how to integrate this into your services, or you thought, hey, is this possible to provide this feature for this use case, just come have a conversation with us. We will have a grants program. We will have hackathons. We will have in the future many avenues for you to explore and experiment with. And yeah, if you are ready to start playing around with this technology, we'd be happy to onboard you into our developer community. So don't be shy and join us in our channels. Thank you very much, everyone. We will see you next week. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.